I'd like to thank everybody to Abstrakt Sales Institute. And this afternoon we're going to talk about a part that's near and dear to everybody's heart. We're going to talk about numbers. So my name's John Schwepker. I'm Director of Sales here at Abstrakt. I'd like to thank you guys for being a part of this. And hopefully everybody will pick up something. Everybody has a packet and hopefully has a pen, because we've got some exercises to do today. So I want to involve everybody as much as we can, and I'll be picking on some people as we go, so just be prepared. Oh, you going? So today we're going to talk about telephone sales, because everybody in this room does that. And everybody knows how to do it, or they wouldn't be here. But maybe we can talk about some reasons why we do some of the things that we do. And that's really what I want to get into. Is a lot of people sit down every day and they dial. And they just dial the phone. And some people get good results, and some people don't get as good results. Some people don't dial as much as others, and they get maybe better results than the people that dial more. So why is that, and what can we do to change that? So, got a picture up here. Which one do you want to be? And you know, that was for the gals, so we could have put a gal up there for the guys, but we went this route. So, how do you get from here to here? How do you get there? You work? What else?
Creatine.
Because trust me, there are a lot of people, and I know personally a lot of people who have gone from there to there. And they did it through hard work, and they did it through setting goals and being consistent and doing things that we've got to do in our personal lives and in our business lives. So I also know a lot of people that have been there, and they go to the gym every day, they do workouts every day, and they don't get results. So why is that? You know, why do some people go in and they get results, and other people, they go in, seems like they're there the same amount of time, and they don't get results? So why would that be?
Outside of the gym.
What's that?
What they're doing outside of the gym.
What they're doing outside of the gym?
Effort. Not doing the exercises properly.
Not doing them properly?
Effort and technique.
Yeah, so there's a whole host of reasons why people don't get the results that they're looking for. So really, when it comes down to it, whether it's work or whether it's working out, it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game for getting in shape. It's a numbers game for selling and doing activity and things of that nature. So one of the things we have going on here at Abstrakt right now that we just did on Monday, is Sarah in here, that we're hosting, is a Biggest Loser contest, right? And who in here is in that? A whole lot of people. I was really excited to see how many people signed up for that. I thought that was awesome. So what was the first thing that we did after they talked to you?
Weigh in.
They weighed in. So we got what? A starting point. So if we don't know where we're starting, then we have no idea how to get to where we want to be, right? So now we know where we're starting. We know how much money we're making right now. We know how much we weigh. And then what do we got to do next? We set a goal, right? We set a goal. So where do we want to get? So I'm making X amount of money, and I want to make Y, right? So who has done that so far this year? I'm going to say that out of the people who raised their hand for this Biggest Loser contest, who of those people has set a goal for how much weight they want to lose throughout that contest? Better yet, did anybody who's in the contest not set a goal where they want to be? Or no hands, or they're lying to me. So hopefully you set a goal on where you want to be. And so that may be, one of the things it has to be is, it has to be achievable. So if the contest is going on for 3 months, and you say, I want to lose 200 pounds in 3 months. Unless you're planning on getting some kind of surgery, it's not going to happen. It's not a realistic goal. It's not something you can set out there and achieve. So it's not going to happen. You're just going to fail in that. Same thing if you're making $40,000 and you say in the next 6 months, I want to make $100,000, that may not be realistic either, based on your comp plan and everything like that. So the key is to set a realistic goal that is achievable, but is still a struggle to get to. We don't want it to be real easy to get there. So while we're doing that, we have to have a time frame too, what we want to get there. So in this contest, how long does that go?
So 60 days.
It's a 60-day? 60-day? Okay. Okay. So 60-day contest to achieve that goal. So in sales is the same thing. If we want to achieve a goal, maybe it's for the year, we want to make a certain amount of money. So we put a time frame on that. Or I want to increase my sales within the next 90 days. And I want to do it by so much. So I'm going to set a goal out there for that. And then what do we do along the way? So what's going to happen during this Biggest Loser contest? Is it every week? Every week, what's going to happen? We weigh in again, and we find out, are we on track with our goals, right? So we got to measure them along the way. It's one thing to set a goal and say, I'm going to lose 50 pounds this year, and I'm going to start today, and I've got this goal. And then I wait till the end of the year, and I get on the scale, and I didn't lose 50 pounds. Why didn't I do that? Well, because I probably didn't eat really good along the way. I probably didn't exercise along the way. I didn't check in ever to see if I was on track to hit those goals. So, you know, whether it's losing weight, whether it's making money, it doesn't matter. We've got to set these parameters out there. And I think what happens in a lot of cases is people just go blindly into their job, into weight loss, into whatever they do. Okay? And they don't know why they're doing it. So, who knows the ratios? Who in here knows the ratios? I'll just ask that question first. So nobody. So maybe you don't know what I mean by know your ratios. Who knows for every amount of dials they take, what is their ratio to get to a decision maker, to a contact? 1? Awesome. So then do you know your ratios for every decision maker you talk to that leads to an appointment? What is that? Does anybody know that? Or in our case, in our executive sales, who knows how many dials it takes to get to a contact? A contact is a decision maker. So backing up a little bit, just talking about, first of all, knowing what you're trying to achieve. So what is a dial? Picking up the phone and just, anybody can hit that auto dial and get in 200 dials a day. That's pretty easy to do, right? So we're dialing a meaningful company that has the potential to buy from us or potential to set an appointment with. So we got to make sure we're dialing, first of all, into the right companies that we're trying to go after. After that, then we're trying to get a decision maker on the phone. So how many dials does it take on average to do that? What's that? 1 in 10. That's yours or that's everybody's? Okay, it's yours. Great. So you know that. So then in a contact is somebody who has the ability to set an appointment or make a decision to move the sale forward, okay? Out of that then, in executive sales, what we're trying to do is have a pitch. So we're trying to present to the client at that point. The other folks that are on the inside sales side, they are trying to set an appointment with that decision maker, right? So you need to know how many contacts it takes, how many decision makers you need to talk to set an appointment. On our side, we need to know what our contact ratio is between talking to a contact and then setting an appointment, and then from setting an appointment to how many people show up on that pitch, and then depending upon how many people show up on that pitch, how many of those do I close and they become a new client that everybody else in this room gets to start servicing. So I can tell you that probably not all of our sales reps here know those numbers. And we've talked about them before, but I'm still going to guess that they probably don't all know them. So we've come up with some metrics that we put in place, and that's great, and those are company goals where you should be. So those are more like benchmarks. So everybody in here probably has a benchmark, how many dials they're supposed to do. They have a benchmark of what the ratio is. Is there benchmarks on the inside sales side of dials to contacts? Yes? No?
Yeah.
Yes? No, on the inside sales side, on the partner sales side. Is there? Yes? Is there a contact ratio between how many contacts you have to how many appointments you set? Yes. So the company has set some goals out there, which are benchmarks that you can look at and go, okay, now let me look at my ratios and see how they compare to everybody else's ratios. So one of the things we're going to do on the first exercise is write down how many sales you will make or appointments that you'll make over the next 90 days if you don't change anything. On your piece of paper, write that down, please. So just based on what you've been doing, how many appointments do you think you're gonna set in the next 90 days? Or how many deals do you think you're gonna close if you're on the executive sales side in the next 90 days? Then we're gonna go right into the second exercise is I want you to write down your average dials per day. If you don't know it, estimate it, okay? And then I want you to write down your average contacts per day that you're doing. And then write down the average amount of appointments that you're setting per day. And for the executive sales reps, how many meetings you're having per day. And then the number of appointments to deals that it takes you to get. So, or pitches to deals to set that up for the executive sales reps. So you're just trying to take an average. And if you know it, fantastic. If you know it, probably don't need to be sitting in this room because you're already doing it right. So then another question is, you're doing all these dials. And I know there's people in this room that dial 200 plus times a day. And I know there's people in this room that dial less than that, okay? Significantly less than that. So why are you making those dials? Why are you making the dials? Why? One person yell it out loud?
To reach a contact, to make an appointment, to get a meeting, to make a sale.
Yeah, to make a sale, right? To make a sale or set an appointment. I'm going to use set an appointment as a sale in here. So we make these dials to set a sale, to make a sale. But if we have no idea in between the dials and the sales what happens or why, then we're just kind of blindly doing that. So everybody write those down. Everybody write down exercise 1 and 2, what they think they're going to be able to do in the next 90 days, and then their average dials, contacts, appointments, pitches, and pitches to sales. So I think we have Matt Carpenter up here, or Holiday, is it Holiday? Yeah. Matt Holiday? Hitting a home run, hopefully, on that. So do the best home run hitters out there, do they always hit a home run every time they get up to bat? No. But if you're a home run hitter, do you swing the same way to hit a home run every time you get up to bat? You should. All right, should be doing the same thing. So what happens if you watch professional baseball, or almost any sport, professional baseball is a great one. When a guy gets up to bat, what's he do? And you watch him 4 times. He goes up, he puts his batting glove on, he pulls the strap over, he adjusts his hat, he clicks off his heels, he wraps the bat. I mean, they've got some kind of routine that they're doing every single time, right? And those of you who are baseball players probably had some type of routine. So, I had a routine. I was in college, I was a pole vaulter, and I had this exact same routine literally from high school through the Olympic trials, the exact same thing I did when I was going to pole vault. I mean, I can remember it perfect today. I knew exactly my right foot was getting on the mark. I'd raise his hand up. I'd have the tape. I'd go down. I mean, it was the exact same routine. When I start off, I rock back the same way, take off the exact same way, hit my check mark, and go down and plant the pole and hopefully make the bar. Didn't make it every time. So what happens, though, if I just run down every time, grab my pole, and just take off running? What's my success rate going to be like doing that? Or I just pick up a bat and I step up the plate and just swing different every single time. Probably not going to have a great success rate on that. So one of the things is, if we just pile up numbers, if we just dial the phone, and everybody says sales is a numbers game, right? Is sales a numbers game? Is it a numbers game?
Yes.
Yes. No. Yes, why? What kind of numbers? Why is sales a numbers game?
The more numbers you have, the more contacts, the better chance you have to fall into something.
Okay, why is sales a numbers game?
It's like the lottery. You don't win unless you play.
Okay. So why would sales not be a numbers game? Why would numbers not work for sales then? Why wouldn't it work?
Lack of effort on each individual one, or lack of consistency on each individual one.
But what about if we're calling for a managed service provider, okay, that says I only want 20 workstations and above, and we pull a list of all of the manufacturing companies that have 20 employees, and we dial all day long. We're just calling. I mean, 250 dials a day. Are we going to set a good appointment for our client? Why not? We did the activity. We did 200 dials a day, right? So why wouldn't, I mean, it's a numbers game, right? So if I call enough, I'm going to get the results that I want.
That's not a strategy. That's not a good strategy.
Right. So yes, it is a numbers game, if those numbers are put in the right direction, okay? So just dialing the phone and piling up numbers doesn't get it. Are we calling into the right markets? Are we calling to the right prospects? Are we, when we make that dial, what are we doing? Are we zeroing out to try and get to an operator if we get automated voicemail? Are we trying to get them on the phone and give a compelling reason to that gatekeeper to get us to the decision maker? When we find out who the decision maker are we asking, hey, can I talk to him? And when they come back, I was on a call with Todd, I think, yesterday, and maybe it was somebody else. But when we got to the gatekeeper and the guy wasn't there, he goes, oh, well, look, I've got my director of sales with me, and we need to talk with him because we have a meeting. Can you patch us through to his cell phone? And you know what she did? Patched us through to his cell phone. So because of that, as opposed to saying, okay, well, we were supposed to have a meeting, but darn, they're not here. So then we wound up getting a hold of them. We wound up having the pitch where we wouldn't have otherwise, because we would have got to their voicemail, left a voicemail, had a difficult time trying to get back to them. So what we want to be able to do is establish that consistency. And by knowing our ratios and knowing our numbers and knowing what we're doing, we can benchmark that and try and improve them along the way. So just blindly going in every day and dialing numbers, I mean, you're going to probably get results because you've got a list that comes to you, and hopefully it's a good list and you start calling. But how do you ever know if you're improving? How do you ever know if you're getting better if you're not benchmarking against something, right? And ultimately, the best way to benchmark is is against your sales. Did I sell more this month? So I could sit there every month and go to the salespeople, what'd you sell? Well, I didn't sell anything. Okay, well, try better next month. What'd you sell this month? I didn't sell anything. Try better next month. You only get 3 of those. But if we do that, we're not finding the root cause of that. So why didn't you get any sales? Well, let me look at the number of pitches you did this month. Well, holy cow, you did 8 pitches. What's your ratio from pitch to close? I don't know. Did 8 pitches. I talked to 8 people. Figured I'd close one of them. Well, what's the standard? What's the standard that we have? So on average, our close rate is about 10% for the company. So we know if you give 10 pitches, you should get a deal. Okay? So if you gave 8 and you don't have a deal, what would you think? I should have done 2 more, right? Because on the average, if I do 10 pitches, I'm going to get a deal. I don't have a deal. I didn't do 10 pitches. Why didn't I do 10 pitches? Why didn't I do 10 pitches? Because I didn't set, I did 8 pitches, but I only set, 12 appointments. And my ratio of 1.5 to 1, that's what I'm going to get. That's how many are going to show for those pitches is 8. So I didn't set enough appointments. Well, all right. So, Ryan, why didn't you set enough appointments? I didn't talk to enough people. Why didn't you talk to enough people? I didn't dial enough. Why didn't you dial enough? I don't know. I was researching on the internet. I was doing something else that precluded me from doing that. So if you know that I've got to do this much, and you know what? If you know how many dials you need to do to get your required amount of appointments every day to have your bare minimum, then you know you've got to plan your day to be able to do that. But is bare minimum where you want to be? Because you set this goal up here higher. So you've got a plan. So if you want to make that X amount of money, and so maybe that X amount of money is because you set so many appointments, you get bonuses that come out of that. So if you know where those bonuses hit, and you know how many appointments you have to set for the month, and you break it down by the day, and then you break that down by how many contacts you have to get, and you break that down by how many dials you have to get, well, wouldn't it be simple? I know if I do 152 dials a day, I will emphatically always hit my goal. Or I didn't hit my goal. Why? Well, you don't know because you haven't looked at your ratios, right? Maybe my ratio's changed. So maybe now I look at it and I'm not setting, I'm talking to contacts, but I'm not setting appointments. Well, I have an issue there. Maybe I need to go talk to my manager and say, look, I really noticed I'm getting a hold of the same amount of people that I always have with this number of dials, but I'm not setting the appointments that I used to set. So what, could you help me out? Maybe, can you listen to some of my calls and help me and figure out why I'm not able to convert those into appointments like I used to be able to? Because I can tell you, over the last 6 months, this is where I was. And now I'm here. And I want to catch that before I go 6 more months and realize that now I'm not even on pace to get to where I was. And it boils down to that one area. So I did something. I'm doing something different in trying to set those appointments. So does that make sense? If you do that, and you do that consistently, you can avoid the ups and downs in sales. So what do I mean by the ups and downs in sales? Anybody have any idea? I know my executive sales reps should know what the ups and downs of sales are. The peaks and valleys. Why do we have peaks and valleys? Because one of the things we do is we build up a pipeline, and then we start closing off that business, right? So we have our ratio of 10 pitches to an appointment, and so then I get that deal. And then what do I do? Well, I gotta go through the contract, and I gotta go tell everybody, how great I am, and I gotta hit the gong, and I gotta do all these things, and then I get my next deal, because I did a whole bunch of pitches last month. And so then I get my, I did a whole bunch of pitches leading up to this. I get my deals. And then all of a sudden, because I'm doing all this deals, and John's really happy because I had a great month, and I got Salesman of the Month, and I got the new Crystal Award, and got the bonus and everything, I didn't do what? I didn't continue to prospect. And so based on my ratios, it's not a 1-for-1. I can't close one person and expect to just bring one new person into the pipeline and be okay. Why? Because for every deal, how many pitches do I have to do? 10. So if I take one out, how many do I have to replace it with? I got to bring 10 in. I don't bring one in, I bring 10 in. So if I close 4 deals, what happens? I got to bring 40 new pitches into the pipeline to replace them. But I'm busy celebrating and boasting that I just kicked everybody's butt this month, closed 4 deals, Salesman of the Month, and next month what happens? Maybe I get 2 or 3 deals, and which is great. And I'm still celebrating because I'm still getting a nice commission check on 2 or 3 deals. That's great. John's not mad at me on 2 or 3 deals. Then what happens the next month? Now I'm down to maybe 1 deal or no deals. And because I celebrated here and didn't do the activity, I celebrated here and did the activity, and now I'm not celebrating, but what happens? I'm screwed because I've now lost 40 pitches here, 30 pitches here, 10 pitches here. I'm 80 pitches deep. And how do I make that up? Well, no, I can't make that up. So how do I hit my goal? I don't hit my goal. And I have a great month, a good month, an okay month, a horrible month, a horrible month, a horrible month, and then it starts to rise back up. And I have the good months again, and then it goes back down. And I have the good months, and it goes back down. So in order to keep that going, even though we're getting these victories along the way, which is what we want, closed appointments, closed sales, if we're not continuing to build that pipeline, not continuing to bring those new prospects into the mix, following those ratios, we're going to continue to have these ups and downs in sales all the time. This is never going to go away. Okay, so you can't do this, but this is a suggestion for you. Because obviously we're in this meeting, we can't do this right now, but create a chart and track your dials by hour. Track your success by hour. Why would we do that? Why would we do that?
True average.
What's that?
See when the best time to call.
For what reason?
Makes it more manageable.
That's when you win.
What's that?
Makes it more manageable, smaller pieces.
It makes it more manageable, and you're right on the right track. 2 different things. When am I more effective? Because you know what? I get accused lots of times of coming to the sales meeting and waking people up because I've already had, my pre-workout drink and maybe a fat burner, and I'm all jacked up and ready to go. And the guys come dragging in, and they're like, what in the world, So maybe 8 to 9, they aren't real productive. Maybe 9 to 10 starting to wake up. So if you start looking at that, then maybe you need to make some changes. Or if you find out I'm really successful in these hours, I'm gonna really concentrate on trying to get a hold of people then, because that's really when I'm really good. Or I'm gonna take my weaknesses and make them my strengths. So I'm a big believer in that. Take your weaknesses and make them your strengths. If I look at my schedule and I track this for a week or I track it for a month, and you're gonna build a pattern, you should be able to see when you have more success. Now, obviously, if you're calling California and start down at 8, you probably didn't have as much success because it's 6 there. But just across the board, say we're doing the Midwest. And you start seeing that pattern. And you start noticing that from 8 to 9, I'm not very effective. But I'm getting a hold of a lot of people. So my contact is high, but I'm not setting appointments. When I go back and listen to some of them calls, or have my manager listen to some of them calls, and they go, well, yeah, because you sound like you're dead to the world. I wouldn't set an appointment with you either if you call me like that. And then at 2 o'clock is when you have great calls. Well, 2 o'clock is when you have your afternoon cup of coffee and you get all jazzed up again. And that's just, that's the time of day when you're really excited and you're really energetic. So if you notice that, one, you can do a couple things. You can say, well, look, I'm going to do, for my guys, potentially, that's my time when I'm going to send emails and do all that stuff because, I take an hour a day to do that. And I know I can get all my other dials in and set my appointments and get my pitches in this other time. Or you figure out what you can do to make that better. So I had a college coach who sat down with me my senior year of college, and he said, he was actually a strength and conditioning coach for the football team. And I said, hey, I want you to help me. I want to be, the strongest decathlete out there in America. I need you to help me with a program. He goes, all right, I want you to list all your events, your 10 events, and I want you to tell me which is your best all the way down, which is your worst. So I listed out 1,500 meters is by far the worst. I mean, literally probably cost me from going to the 88 Olympics. So he looks at me and he goes, that is going to be your best event. I said, Coach, short of you being, the good Lord, that is not going to be my best event, never has, never will. It's horrible. I can't do it. I'm just horrible. He goes, it's going to be your best event. 4 years later, and some of you have heard this story, I had the fastest time in the world for decathletes in the 1,500. It was my best event. Scored the most points in it. So I'm a big believer in taking what is your weakness and turning around and making it your strength. So if your weakness is converting contacts to appointments, turn it around, make it your strength. If your weakness is making dials and not getting a hold of people, make it your strength. Find those areas. Told my son, basketball player, 7th grade, pretty good. I said, here's your weaknesses. You're slow, you're not quick, and you can't jump real good, okay? And you want to be a basketball player. You want to be really good. So here's the deal. You're a really good shooter. I get that. I mean, he's a really good shooter. But he wants to play Division I college basketball. I said, the only way you're going to do that is you turn those weaknesses into your strengths. Now, I told him that last year. He can jump the highest on the team. He can grab the rim in 7th grade. He's become a pretty good jumper. He's like, Dad, I got one of them. I said, yeah, but you got 2 more to go. So now we're working on making him quicker. I said, you can't just be okay. You got to be the quickest on the court. So he's now working on that. So he's taking that advice and he's working on it. I see him actually doing drills that are helping him get better at those things as opposed to just shooting. Because that's all he ever wanted to do. And he got really good at it. So that's the thing. Maybe you're really good at giving pitches on our side. And we've got some guys who are really good at giving pitches, but they're not as good at setting appointments. So what do? Let's work on that. Come to me, get coaching, wherever it is, read books, do whatever you need to do to get better at those. So one of the things that I think would be a good exercise is to do this, track it during the day. You don't have to make a big ordeal about it. You can build a little Excel spreadsheet, stick it by your desk, and just tick off the marks underneath dials, contacts, appointments set for the folks on the inside sales side. So now, how do we get to make some money out of this? How does this equate to making money? So in exercise 4, I'm going to ask you to put down a goal that you want to achieve, okay? And let's just say you want to double your income. Let's say one of my sales guys says, I want to double my income. January 1st, I made $50,000 last year. I want to make $100,000. Where do you start? Where do you start? What's that? Well, you set a goal. I want to make $100,000. There's my goal. I want to do it by December 31st, 2015.
Find out.
Right. Find out what did it take to get to $50,000. Okay. What did I have to do to get to 50? Now, what can I do?
Know your comp plan, what it takes to get the other 50.
Right, and there's different ways to do that, but I'm just saying I'm going to do it on a simplistic level and say, if I double my dials, I will double my income, right? But John, I'm dialing 8 hours a day. Can't double my dials. And if I'm here 16 hours dialing, nobody's going to be there, because I get it. You tell me they're in early, they stay late. I get that, but they're not there at 2 in the morning. So what do? Well, maybe I double my contact ratio. So double the number of contacts I get to. Well, how can I do that? How can I do that?
On my message.
What's that?
Become more effective on my message with gatekeepers.
Yeah, exactly. So I become better at getting through gatekeepers. I become better at dialing through phone systems. I can become better at doing research outside of my golden selling hours to find out who the people are I need to ask for. So I become better at getting to those contacts. Or I can double the number of appointments that I set. Is that possible? Sure, that's possible. Because now I get better at, when I get a hold of that decision maker, I get better at setting that appointment. Cole, do you believe there's people that are better at setting appointments than others?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's people that have really good ratios in our team at setting appointments from contacts. And you know what I say? I say, go listen to what that guy's doing. See what they're doing. So, what are they saying on the phone? Because I know one of our sales guys last week, he talked to 8 people, he set 7 appointments. That's pretty good. That's better than pretty good. And we'll take that all day, right? So what are these things we can do? The other thing is we can increase our close rate. We can double our close rate, right? So if I close 10%, I got to close 20%. I got to become better at closing. Can I do that? Sure, I can do that. I can become better at closing. I could double my close rate, potentially. Or what's the last thing I could do?
Sell bigger deals.
Yeah, I can sell bigger deals. A little difficult for us, but in a lot of industries, it's not. You can upsell deals, and you can make your deal worth more. And when your deal's worth more, if you double the size of your deal, then you can double the size of your income. Okay? So there's ways to get there. Maybe that's not real realistic looking at that, but I can tell you the way our comp plan is, you don't even have to double those to double your income because of the way we work. So if I'm a sales rep, I'm going to figure out where I'm at, what I need to do to increase that based on my comp plan, like Richard said. Okay? So based on my comp plan, I'm going to look at that and go, well, this is what I need to do. It's pretty simple. It's simple on paper. I just got to execute it now. So everybody set an income goal with a target that they want to meet or exceed. For yourself, pick at least one ratio that you want to improve in the next 90 days to become better. Okay? So put that down on your piece of paper. And then think about what ratio or what area, and you may not know your ratios, I get it. Everybody here does know the ratios, but what is one area as you think about yourself that you could improve that could increase those ratios and make them better? Because again, right out of the gate, you need to benchmark yourself against yourself and benchmark yourself against the standard. And everybody in here said there is a standard. We have a standard, $100 a day, 4 appointments, 2 pitches, 2 deals. Is what we want to get. So everybody knows, what the standard is in our sales side. So now you got to be able to have that and benchmark that out there. Okay, so little things make a difference. And I'm not sure if my second one is backwards. I kind of think it is. But what we're saying and showing here is that if you make a certain amount of dials, you make a certain amount of money. And if you change something a little bit, it could increase your money significantly. Okay, so you can make a lot more money. So figure out what that is, know those ratios, know how you want to get there to make those little things to make big differences in the results that you're getting. So one of the things we talk about is change. So I've got to change what I'm doing, right? Because if I do what I'm doing, what am I going to get? I'm going to get the same result, right? Same exact result if I do the same thing. I think that's the definition of insanity, right? I expect a different result, but I keep doing the same thing. So why do I have a golf grip up there? Does anybody in here play golf? Anybody play it well? Okay, so those of us who don't play it well, who have taken lessons, one of the most important things out of the gate that you can do is have a good grip. Right, Mike? I mean, that's just the fundamental first thing that any golf instructor is going to do is they're going to fix your grip. And the very first thing that's going to happen is you're going to go, this feels so weird. This is horrible. And you're going to try it, and you may even play a couple rounds, and you're going to shoot horrible. I mean, you're going to fail miserably. So ultimately, what are you going to wind up doing? What's that? Well, what most people are going to do is they're going to go back to their original grip. And they're going to go back to their original score, which is probably usually in, triple digits. So if that's the case, what did you do? One, you just wasted your time and money on the lessons to do that. But because that change felt a little bit different and a little bit strange, you went back to your old ways. You went back to your old habits. And I can tell you, changing the golf grip is very, very difficult, unless you do what Mike said, which is what, Mike? Ingrain it. And how do you ingrain it?
Repetition.
Your repetition. You go to the driving range. You go to the driving range, and you just sit there, and you do that grip, and you hit it over and over, and you just, keep watching the bad shots and keep saying, this is stupid. This is not going to help me. I'm not going to get any better. And then all of a sudden, because you stuck with it and you kept doing it over and over and over, start making some changes. Start seeing a little bit better shots. Maybe you're not slicing the ball nearly as bad as you used to. Hey, that's pretty cool. So then what do? You embrace it now. Now you start embracing it and you stick with it. And all of a sudden you change your game. And your game changes and your scores come down. So it's the same thing in sales, same thing in anything really. But to change that is going to be different. If your sales manager says, hey, why don't you try this when you get on the phone with the decision maker, because I think that'll help you, open them up a little bit more and get them to listen to you. But you're used to saying it this way. You may try it a couple times, and guess what happens? You don't set an appointment. So what do? You go right back to the same way. You go right back to the same numbers you had, and you go right back to the same results that you had. So in order to get to these results without doubling everything, which is going to be your hardest way to get there, because again, if it comes down to dials, you're in trouble. If it comes down to all I can do, the only way I can do this is double my dials, everybody here better be in trouble. Because nobody in here should be able to double their dials every day. All right, or we're not very efficient right out of the gate. So the big thing is if you were able to change something just a little bit, okay? Let's just say I added 10 more dials a day. Who in here could add 10 more dials a day? Probably just about everybody, all right? Because 10 more dials isn't that much, all right? What would that impact you overall, over a year? I'll just pick our executive sales team and say, what do you think that would impact one of our guys if he made 10 more dials a day? $10 more dials a day equals 2,620 dials a year, 2,620 dials. Get you 262 more contacts, get you 78 more appointments, get you 52 more pitches, and it gets you 5 more deals. And that equates to almost $5,000 to our sales reps for 10 more dials a day. That's, I don't know, to me it's worth it. To make $5,000, it's almost a $500 a month raise for 10 dials a day. And that's assuming at our average number. So I'm going to take our good guys, and they're going to close 7 or 8 more deals because of that. Maybe 9. Because they have a better closing rate. They're better at doing that. So if you're not doing things that are going to help you get there, that are distracting, then you're just going negative. You're just going the opposite direction. If you look back and if you sit down and really think about what you're doing, and I'm going to pick on Larry here for a second, because I sat with him. My very first day here, I sat with him. And I was just amazed at how this guy could work Salesforce and could work the phones. And I tell you what, if I was as good as Larry, I would have made a whole lot more money throughout my sales career because he's just so good at it. So when he's dialing somebody, he's putting in notes from the previous guy. And then when he's getting ready to leave a voicemail for that person, he's already pulled up the next person. And he just does it in a way that he's so efficient. And he's figured out how to do it and be effective at it because he knows once it dials to here and it goes this many dials, I know it's going into voicemail. I know I'm not getting a hold of a real person. So I'm not going to sit and wait, and I'm going to put all the stuff in. And then what happens? So what happens to most of us when we have a really good call? And I can pick on one of my sales reps because he's not here today. What happens when one of my sales reps has a really good call? He gets up, man, he's excited. He runs into my office. John, you got to hear what this guy's, this pitch was so good. He's ready to buy, da, da, da. And he'll spend 15 minutes telling me about how great this pitch was. And then he'll go tell everybody else in the sales floor, not together, individually. I mean, tell each one, even though we're pretty close, you could probably just tell the whole group. So, but he doesn't. He tells everybody individually. So what does that do? Two problems there. What's the two problems?
He's helped the phone and he gets other person.
He's got everybody else distracted. So now I don't have just one person that's ineffective. I've got 9 people that are ineffective for the whole time while the story's going on about what the guy said and what he's going to do, and this is the biggest deal ever, and I'm going to blow you guys away, and I'm going to get so much commission, and oh, by the way, it's this much, and I know exactly, and I've already won Salesman of the Month, and the whole deal, right? A lot of you know who I'm talking about. So those are the kind of distractions that cause you from hitting those goals and doing those little things that make a difference in your overall performance, because it is little things that can make a big difference if you change them. So, exercise number 5. I want everybody to write down a new income goal. Make sure it includes the salary and commission or bonuses that you're going to get. Make a date to it. And so a sentence would go something like, by July 1st, I will earn a total of $15,000 in salary and commissions by increasing my phone sales effectiveness and developing more satisfied customers. So put down what your goal is, what your time frame is. Make sure it's at least 90 days out, and make sure it's at least 15% higher than what you would make as it is now. The second part, when you finish that, is write down 10 things that would change in your life if you did that, if you made that extra money. And those can be work things, those can be personal things. I can buy that new car that I wanted. I can buy that engagement ring for my future wife. I can buy the jet ski because hopefully it'll be spring sometime soon. I can get the promotion that I've wanted. So write down 10 different things. Because why would we do that? Why write down what we want?
Give you a reason.
Yeah, something to shoot for. Hey, I've got a goal. I want to build an extension on my house. I know it's going to cost $5,000, and I want to do it by the end of the summer. So, if I can raise my commission rate up to here, I can make that extra money. I'll point out another sales guy who's highly motivated on our sales team because he does it. He wants to buy a new house. He wants to move his family into it. So he's highly motivated because of that. So, I want down payment on a house. I want to say I'm going to make enough extra money until January 1st of next year that I can put a down payment on a house. And I know exactly how much I need. I need $15,000. All right. So who wants to share some things that they want to achieve because they're going to make all this extra money?
Rachel's going to invite more people to her wedding.
Rachel's going to be able to invite more people. Is that going to cost you or your father more? Okay. Anybody else? What's something they want to do?
My husband would be able to get out of the military and live here.
There you go. That's awesome. Great, great goal. Anybody else?
I want to pay off my car discount.
You want to do what?
I want to pay off my car discount. I got it down to 5,000 that I owe.
Okay.
So if I can increase it here.
Right.
Y'all know how I am. I calculate all the time.
That's absolutely perfect.
By July, I would like to have it totally paid off.
So then, you break it down. I know how much extra a month I need to make. And I know to make that, I need to do this. And everybody here, for the most part, has the ability to do this, whatever this is, to make more money, right? Almost everybody in this room has that ability to do more and make more. And that's a great spot to be in. Sales is awesome. You control your own destiny, and you take none of the risk. See, all you have is an upside in sales. The more you sell, the more money you make. The more appointments you set, the more money you make. The better advancement opportunities you have, the better opportunities you have to move into executive sales. If you want to move anywhere in the company that you want to move, and this goes for our company, it goes for any company out there. Because the people that are succeeding, the people that are generating more opportunities for the organization they work for, are the people that get promoted. And those are the people that, the managers want working for them. And so when they see that, they reward that. And we do it here all the time. So just in a recap, really, sales is somewhat of a numbers game as long as you know what the numbers are and you use them the right way. Okay? So I don't want anybody to think it's not a numbers game, but I don't want anybody to think it's just a numbers game. If I go dial 200 times, I'm going to all of a sudden get everything I want. And I really want everybody to start thinking in those terms of ratios. One of the things I did, and one of my sales guys last weekend, I put all his ratios together for him, sent them out to him, and I said, look, we've got a really cool tool that one of our really cool directors put together for us, and it shows everything. It shows all our ratios, and it compares them to everybody in the sales group. So it's awesome. And you don't have to even do all these things. You just have to click a button to see it. And then you can compare yourself. So what I did is I took all his numbers and I compared them to the norms, and I said, these are a couple areas that I think you need to improve in, because you're not at the norm there. And here are a couple areas you're really good. So just think if you fix these two and keep good at these, where your numbers are going to be. They're going to be so much better. And to have those tools, and we've got a lot of tools here. We've got a lot of tools to measure us here at this organization. But those allow you to check yourself, literally hourly if you want, but at least daily, and see where you wound up. So it's kind of cool, because then you can challenge yourself. I want to be better than everybody. I want my ratios to be better than everybody else's ratios. So you can have contests within contests. Consistency. So we want to be consistent in everything we do. If you find a way that works really well to get through gatekeepers, use it. Use it. If you need to change it. So stay consistent in what you do too. Even when you have the highs and you're setting a bunch of appointments or you're closing a bunch of deals, we got to stay consistent in the activity that we need to do to sustain that. Because you're almost in trouble because you close deals. We talked about that, right? You're almost in trouble. Because the more deals you close, the further behind you are in your pipeline. So if you know that, you're like, oh man, I know, John, here's this deal. You take care of it, because I got to build my pipeline back up. I just lost 10 prospects in my deal. Just lost 10. I can't deal with this. I got to go replace those 10. And then, oh, shoot, I just got another deal. That's 10. Man, I can't even hardly handle this. I'm closing too much business. But if you keep doing that and you keep replacing them, then you're always going to have those problems. And I tell you what, COLA's a pretty good problem to have, aren't they? Having too many deals. Those are good problems to have, And Cole does a great job, and he keeps filling his pipeline, and he doesn't celebrate his wins too much, and it allows for more consistent flow of business coming in, and you can predict that. Set your goals. We talked about that. You really can't get anywhere until you set those goals. The other thing with those numbers that you wrote down earlier, the goal that you set for where you want to be in 90 days, you need to, I'm going to go back to that real quick, is on a separate sheet with those 10 goals, post that somewhere that you're going to see it at least 3 times a day. Okay? I'll tell you a real quick story. I got 30 seconds of a guy that I used to coach. He came to me as a freshman and he said, I'm going to be state champ in the long jump in the 100 meters. And this kid was I can't use the words I'd like to describe him with, so he wasn't an ideal, citizen, an athlete. But he was a good athlete. But he didn't work hard. I coached him in 8th grade basketball. He's lazy, didn't do all that stuff. He goes, that's what I'm going to be. I said, well, I'll tell you what. You write that down. You post it on your mirror. You put it in your wallet. And every day you look at that and keep saying that to yourself. That's what I want to do. Now, granted, there was a lot of hard work. As a sophomore, he was state champ in 100 meters. As a junior, he was state champ in 100 meters, or in the long jump. As a senior, state champ in 200 meters in the long jump. And he pulled out of his wallet the piece of paper. He said, Coach told me to write this down in 9th grade. So each state championship, he pulled it out and showed it to me. And he said, I posted it on my mirror. I kept it in my wallet. I did it just like he told me. So it can be done, but you gotta have that goal. You gotta keep reiterating. You gotta measure it. There wasn't a day went by when I didn't say, all right, I don't believe it, but I'm gonna work really hard to be the best at the 1500 because Coach told me I could do it. And he believed in me and I believed in it. I didn't believe in it first, but I believed in him because he said I could do it. And I wrote it down and made it happen. So track your call results, and then the little things make a difference. You'd be surprised how much little things make a difference. All right, anybody have any questions? Thank you guys very much, appreciate it.